So let's see. So yesterday we worked on two different interfaces to the our Clockpunch contract here. Um, we have a Python interface that is should be calling this punch function that will emit an event, and then we have a JavaScript interface that watches for these events and calculates the hours worked of a given worker. Um, we got the JavaScript interface to work pretty well, but we weren't able to get the Python interface working. So first, I'll just go over the changes to the code on the Python interface to actually make it functional. So let's just jump into that right away here. So, oops, that's the HTML. I'm just going to close all the HTML stuff for now. I mean the JavaScript stuff. Okay. So here is our clockpunch.py. The first change that I should just mention is that I'm not connecting to, well, we have two connection strings here. One is connecting to my quick node. I was trying to use that. Unfortunately, so the problem last seminar was that we were trying to send a Ropsten transaction onto a mainnet node because my quick node was configured to mainnet, and I didn't realize that. So last night and this morning I rebuilt the node, which is you just click a button, but then it took like several hours, so I had to message their Slack and they finally got it switched, and it says that it's created. In fact, we can go and look at the quick node status. For a long time, this status here was just starting or something like that. So that's when I messaged them, and they said they would check on it. However, there's still a problem, and that is that the current block is way less than, it's way behind. The Ropsten network is up at the 3 million, I think that's what that is, and this is not even halfway there. I believe that part of QuickNode's service is that they're supposed to somehow deliver you a node that's already synced. So, and that's a problem because now when I try to look at the balance of my account or look for certain contracts, they're not going to be there because I didn't make any of those changes, for that far back in history. So, at this point, I'm just going to give up on QuickNode. I'm quite frustrated with them. I mean, I don't want to blame them too much because it is a tough industry to build anything in, and we're all kind of struggling here, but I don't think I'm going to be fucking with that anymore. So instead then, what I have going on here is we're connecting to Infura, ropsten.infura.io. This is my token. Again, maybe I shouldn't be streaming this or recording this, but I guess the worst that can happen is it's a free service. I mean, you can use Infura for free anyway, even without a token. I think that they just prefer that you get a token. In any case, if I wanted to connect to mainnet, it would be pretty easy. I would just change that to mainnet. Ropsten. So anyway, that's that. And then when I had this print line printing out the balance of my user address to verify that I'm getting the right information. And indeed, now when I call this program, this will print out my balance, my Ropsten balance of this new user here. So that works. Okay. And then a final change I made here is that these three lines used to be just I used to just print the output of clock in, and I'll run the program because I'm still printing it here. But I actually had to translate it to hex to actually get a transaction ID that I could use on Etherscan and stuff. So I will just demonstrate this script really quick. I mean, I've already done it here. I guess I will clear and just do it again. So Python 3, clockpunch.py, and I guess before that, I'm gonna take out some of these print. I don't need to, because this is just gonna make the readout a little bit more confusing. Okay, so now the only things we're going to be printing is the balance of our user address and then the transaction hash, which is also known as the transaction ID. They're the same thing. It's just the hash of the transaction. but then I'll be printing that as it is, and then also after having translated it into hex. So let's just go ahead and do it. So we can see that we're at the correctly late block. That's good. You can see I have a balance. That's also good. And now you can see 2 lines here. Here is what will just be printed if you just try to print the transaction hash that so here the send raw transaction, that's what's returning, this bit right here, this byte string. And then if you do 2 hex, that's when you finally get this 0x whatever business, and this is what we can actually take now. Take this, copy it, go over to Ropsten, Etherscan, and put it in, and now we should see our transaction, and there it is. So finally, after I think this is the 3rd seminar I've tried to use web3py, so finally we have now broadcasted a transaction through web3py on Etherscan, and it's not just any transaction, it's actually a specific function call. You can see, let's see, where did I? So here is where we're actually specifying the name of the function, so and the argument as well. So that's cool. We have the Python interface that broadcasts stuff, and you can see it should be included in a little while when this gets mined into the block, or I guess when it gets reflected. There we go. We can see the 1 event log. We can also see this small little argument. I believe that is the in. It looks like it's 2 hex. It looks like it's 2 bytes, which the string in would be 2 bytes. So I think that's what that is. And another change from the last couple of seminars is that if we look at the remix code, I used to have agent and action. I used to have them indexed, and they're no longer indexed, and I think that was messing with the ease with which we could decode this stuff. So now that they're not indexed, I believe that it looks like this might be the length of the next piece of data, and this is the actual data of that argument. So let's get back to our outline. So this is done. Next thing we want to do is complete the Python functions clock in and clock out. So our clock in is already done. This clocks us in, as we can see here. As we can see here. Although I suppose just to double check, we could open up our JavaScript interface. So that's again on my local host, Clockpunch web page. And okay, so now we need to get the address of my agent. And put it in here and click this, and remember it doesn't output anything right now. We're just getting all the stuff to run on the developer console. So we have some outputs here. This 8 long array, I believe that is when we are outputting everything we get, not just from the current not just from this agent, but this last one is just a single object. I don't remember what I guess I could get the source code up here. Let's see, what are we actually logging here? Nope. So we're logging the result of the event filter. So that's this first one here. That's actually good enough for now. I just want to verify that that event did get added. So if we look at this array, we should look at, it's weird that these look different. Are they, I don't know why these look different than this. Maybe it's a weird thing about the way the console logs output. But in any case, I believe this last one then should have some args, and agent should be our guy. Is that our guy, 082A? Yes, that's our guy. So, and that's good. So we can even look at the time, which is an R. This is this might throw you off if you see this. This is how so web3js and web3py typically use different variable types than regular integers because they have to be huge numbers. But I bet if we load one of these, it'll be So there's our number. You kind of got to dig into it, but I bet that's the Unix timestamp. In any case, it seems like it's working, so that's great. So now our Python interface, as I was saying, we have a clock in function. So now the very next thing, of course, is to get a clock out function. So that's what I'm going to do. Let's see. There's a lot of common code in here. It'd be cool to sort of not duplicate code. The only thing that will change is this bit. So I guess what I can do is change this to call punch with string, and then string. Is that a keyword in Python? I'm not really sure. I'm just going to put S. Then put S here. S here. That should be fine. Okay, now let's just make two more functions. Def clock. Clock in. Clock out. Okay, so that should all work just fine. Now, instead of doing this, well, here I'll do this. Well, I'm just going to comment these out, and then I'm going to save this and actually import this as a module into the Python prompt, and that way I can just call these as I like. One thing I'm going to do though is I'm going to say return, and then I'm actually going to just do w3.2 hex. That way we don't have to do that every time. And same down here, return w3.2 hex. Okay, great. So yeah, okay, let's get our Python prompt up here. Python 3 import Clockpunch. That looks good. So it's defined all the functions. Actually, I'm going to do from Clockpunch import that. That way we don't have to do Clockpunch dot whatever every time. So I guess let's just try the clock out. Okay, now that's super simple. And this is, so as much of a pain it is to set the web3py up, this is part of the reason that I think it's worth using and building interfaces with. The time to call the function and have it actually broadcasted onto the Ethereum network, what was that, like a tenth of a second there? And you didn't need any user confirmation either because the program has a private key itself. And I think that could be pretty powerful when you want to build interfaces that maybe need to do a lot of transactions. Of course, then you're racking up gas costs, so I don't know. But anyway, let's take this and plug it into Etherscan on Ropsten. See how it's doing. Oh, there we go. Already included. And should be reflected in a short while. Well, if it's included, I think that when it says it should be reflected, I think that's just saying that Etherscan should reflect it. So even if this page is here, I bet if we go here and load this again, we'll see a longer array. What's going on? Why didn't it was just working. Oh, you know what? I did a hard reset this time, or hard refresh this time, and I think I changed some of the code. I think, yeah, it's complaining that I don't have this humanized duration. So that's a change I made just before the stream. Let me just fix this error real quick. I think I just didn't put the JS at the end. Okay, let me save that and refresh here. Okay, well, I don't have the arrows anymore, but it's still not logging anything. What's going on there? Oh, right, I need to actually click the button. Right, okay. So, let's get our address. User address. Okay, so, well, first of all, we have our array as one bigger, so that already indicates that it works. Um, we also have three events here. So this second one here is the one that I demonstrated first. This last one is the one that I just did, and this one up here is. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on now. Let's just look at these. Look at the args. Well, I don't remember exactly where all these came from. I think that one of these was a test uh, um, from last night or this morning that I was doing. In any case, we have three of them, and we have at least one in and one out. So now let's just see if, let's see, what was it? Window.app. Punch actions? No, what did we call that? Hours worked. Okay, so looks like half an hour worked, and that seems right. Okay, so I believe what happened is I did an in clock before the stream started, and I saw that it broadcasted the transaction. Then I did another in transaction here with you guys, and then finally I did an out, and that was about a half hour ago. So that makes sense. Cool. So that's great. We have now a two Python functions that we can call as much as we want. Clock in, and I can just go clock out just like that. Super simple. And we can, replacement transaction underpriced. It's a bit weird. It seems like it thinks that I'm trying to replace a transaction. Huh. Of course, in Ethereum, if you submit a transaction and it's taking forever, you can resubmit it with a higher gas price. And it seems to be thinking that's what I'm trying to do. Maybe it's, I really don't know why. I mean, it's running this code twice, which maybe builds a transaction that's so similar. However, the hash should be different because we're giving it a different argument. So I don't know why that's working. There is a Web3 function to check on transactions. Replacement transaction underpriced. I'm going to take a look at this on Robston. Our user address, see what's going on here. We have one pending. Maybe it's because I have a pending transaction. I'm not really sure. Let's see. Yeah, I think it might be just because the in is pending. However, that shouldn't be stopping me. I mean, I should be able to call this function as many times as I want. And then Web3 should at least deliver that onto the Ethereum network. And then if that, causes some sort of error in the contract, then the contract should fail. It shouldn't be stopping me at this point. I should be able to broadcast this as many times as I want. So that is odd. I guess I just would like to see, wait for this one to mine. It's taking a while. Let's look at the input data. Oh, sometimes you can, in certain parts of Etherscan, you can, there's a button to interpret it in text rather than hex, but I guess not on this page. Okay, so now that that's included, let's just see if our function works now. Okay, it does. So it looks like web3py is preventing me from doing two actions in the same block. I don't know if it's because it's the same function or not, but that should not be doing that. That seems to be an error in Okay, actually, I think I know what the problem is here. So we're giving it the nonce, which is the transaction count. Um, yeah, that's what's happening. So for every transaction you submit from a specific identity, so in this case, this guy, you need to submit a nonce that's one greater, or I think it's at least one greater. I don't know if it can be more than one greater, but in any case, it has to be one greater than the previous transaction. And right now, the way we're generating that is we're getting the transaction count of the user address. And so what's happening is when we run this function twice without waiting for the block number to change, without waiting for we're going to give it the same nonce. So we're going to be supplying two different transactions with the same nonce. And so I suspect, this error message should probably not say replacement transaction under price. It should probably say a nonce is the same or something like that, because we're not trying to do a replacement transaction. It's just sort of assuming that, seems to be. And so then once our transaction got included, then when we called get transaction count, because it was our first transaction was mined into a block, that's going to return an integer that's one higher, and then our second one will go through. So we could fix that, and I'm not going to try to fix this. Maybe that's another homework assignment somebody could do. Although there's not much point. I mean, you're not going to be clocking in and out, super quick. But a way that you could fix that is have some internal tracking of all of the transactions that we're trying to send, and then increase what we're going to give to nonce. But that strikes me as maybe sort of a hairy, complicated job. I'm certainly not going to get into it now. Yeah. So, and now we've done a clock in and a clock out. So if we get this again, and then we go and look at this again, we should see the number is slightly changed. Whoa, that's like way more. I wonder if my logic in this, oops, it's not a wallet utility. Anyway, I wonder if my logic in this JavaScript interface is wrong. Let me change that wallet utility output there. That's not what it is. Not a wallet utility. This is a Clockpunch hours counter tallier. Okay, let's see. Yeah, it's a hairy field, Web3 development. And actually so Tuesday's seminar, I never released the video. I think instead of releasing a video, I'm actually just going to write some sort of article, a short post detailing a lot of the obstacles that you encounter in Web3 and contract development, because there's a few big ones, and that's really, I mean, a lot of the things I'll talk about in that post is what was slowing us down in that seminar. So I think it's worth talking about. So that's what I'll do for Tuesday's seminar. In any case, back to this seminar. So we did that. And now I'm actually going to leave this number 3 for later if we have time. And instead, I'm going to start moving on. I'm going to start working on the JavaScript interface. Okay, so we want to output human readable hours worked using the humanized duration JS library. So we already have the, we have an output. Let me get that again, just so we can have that. Where is my address? But I think that this is actually giving us, oh, now it's different. Well, that's super weird. Oh, you know what? I bet that these events aren't coming in order. I bet they're coming in out of order. Let's look at the block number. 8692939494. Well, those seem to be in order. But for some reason, when I refreshed this and reloaded, we got a different answer. Before it was over 1 hour. Now this one seems to be more accurate. That one seems to seems to be what it should be. The one that we got before was wrong. Oh, I know. It's because we didn't refresh. This hours worked, we just added to it. So I bet if I click this button again, it'll just double this number because it'll do all the same arithmetic. Let's see. Let's see if it does that. Yep, okay. So I guess the first thing is to fix that bug. That should be super simple. Let's go to index.js, and then let's go and, well, we set it to 0 here. Oh, okay, it's actually slightly different. I bet it's not. I bet we're actually just adding the events twice. I bet we have a twice as long list of punch actions. Let's just verify that. It's 10. No, that seems fine. 11. Well, for somehow we're doubling our hours worked. Seconds worked is 0, and then we inaction time. We're setting it to the seconds worked, so I'm not sure what's going on here. I guess we can log some stuff. How many times it's going to go around, and then I guess we could also, let's just do that, refresh and see what happens. So this first time it seems to give us a correct value of 0.617, and we can see it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, it gets up to loop iteration 4, which is of course the 5th one. Let's click it again and see what happens. Oh, okay, we're iterating a lot more, that's for sure. Which, I mean, if we're iterating more, I guess that means that punch actions.length is longer. Okay, so yeah, our punch actions list is just being added to over and over again. Okay, so then all we need to do here is say, are we even using this? No, we're not even using that. So, well, I'll just replace this with window.app.punch actions equals that. Okay, so that should solve our bug there. Let's just refresh and make sure. We get, whoops, 0.67. Let's try again. And it looks like we're looping less. That's good. And 0.617. Okay, cool. That's great. So we got that bug fixed. Okay, back on track. What are we doing? We are we're outputting the hours worked, and we're going to use the humanized duration library. I use this library in Toastycoin. I'll just demo it first. If we go to any of these burnable payments with an auto release that's counting down, which this one, well, that was it right there. So this 4 weeks, 2 days, that's what we're going to be generating. Although we won't be, unless someone's clocked in for over a week, we won't see the week clarifier there. But it goes down to hours and seconds, and it just displays the two biggest. So if it was, 160 seconds, then it would say 2 minutes and 0 seconds. That's what we're going to be using. Let's close all that. This is really ugly. I'm not worrying about it now. We'll make it a little prettier on Friday, tomorrow's seminar. So let's get into the code. We already, so I already copied I added a new file here in libs. I added this folder libs. I added humanized duration, and that's all. If you go and if you want to look at the changes I've made, so you can sort of follow along very closely, then you can look at the commit. I made a commit just before this video to show all the changes, but I just added this file, and then of course I added the include in index.html right here. As you guys saw earlier, I missed that .js, so that's what I had added there. Anyway, so now we should have access to these functions here. And so now I believe I still have a web page up that, yes, right here. So this is how ToastyCoin uses it. It's pretty simple. You put in the, it looks like, I don't know why that's multiplying by 1,000. It's 1,000 seconds. You know, I suspect that's just bad coding, and this seconds is actually a milliseconds. I can't think of any other reason why that would be multiplied by 1,000. Well, okay, let me just look up. So this is the page for humanized duration. I'm going to actually copy this into a links section. And let's just see what. Okay, so it takes milliseconds. Right. That makes, well, it makes a little sense. Anyway, okay, so it takes milliseconds. And then you can tell it, so you can just pass the milliseconds. I also give it the number of outputs I want. So I believe that's what this largest 2 is. So let's get that in our script. Okay, that's fine. We don't need to change that, but we do want to. Let's add a computed variable to our view app, and this will be the formatted output of hours worked. We'll just call it that, formatted hours worked, or readable hours work. Maybe humanized, how about that? Humanized hours worked, okay. Oh, whoops, I need to put that up here. Function, and then we have our hours worked here. So let's see, humanized, and I guess we really want to return on that. And then we put hours worked. I guess I should really be storing the seconds worked, not hours worked. So I'm going to make that change, and then go down here, because that's what we're calculating it as anyway, so there's really no reason to translate it one way just to translate it back. Okay, like that. And then so seconds worked, okay. Humanized duration, seconds worked times 1,000 to get the milliseconds, and then just 2. I believe that's what I did here. Yep. Put a semicolon. Okay. Now I just need to output it on the index. So where do we want that? Let's look at our page here. Think about it a little bit. I guess just right under here for now. So we have this whole div for get punch events by agent. But I do want it in the same well. And remember, the well is this visual, this gray rectangle here. I don't want it in a separate well. I know using breaks is inelegant, but I ain't got time to to learn more elegant stuff. And then we just want to go and then we just say whatever the name is that what was it, humanized hours worked. I guess it's not really hours worked, it's time worked, isn't it? Because it's going to display whatever units make sense. So humanized time worked, and then let's just change that in our index.js. Oops. Okay, save that. Save that. Let's see if it works. Grab this address, refresh the page. Got some errors here. Seconds worked is not defined. Let's see. Unfortunately, it's not telling me the line in my actual code. Oh wait, here we go. Yeah, it is. Index.js 18. Oh, right, I need to go. This dot seconds worked. Okay, let's try that. Okay, no errors. Time worked to 0 seconds. And let's see what happens. Hey, that's pretty cool. Time worked. 37 minutes, 4 seconds. That's great. That's very cool. Let's go ahead and cross that one off, huh? Okay, great. So the last thing I want to do here is our interface here. Where'd it go? Here it is. It does a lot of thinking in the background. And if the use case is sort of, you know, a manager type person who wants to watch the, oh, you did. Oh, that's cool. How did you send it? Did you use Infure? Whoops. How did that happen? There we go. Let's see. What am I thinking here? So yeah, this does a lot of thinking behind the scenes to tally up this. But if the use case is some sort of manager that wants to pay somebody, or well, I guess my use case is I'd like to match the hours of somebody, and they might mess up a clock. They might you know, clock in and then clock out and then clock out again, and you know, this interface is interpreting that in certain ways and making certain assumptions, which is fine to get a summary. But it'd be nice if we could also actually see a little bit more output, and that way, as a human reading this, we can sort of say, oh, that was clearly a mistake, and then we can adjust to whatever we need as necessary. So to that end, I would like to have in between this input and this output, have it basically just list out all of the actions that it found, and also note when it actually added something to the hours worked. So yeah, okay. So Sayron is saying that, remember there was earlier some in that I didn't really remember doing. Well, he used the same code, and because he used the same code, he used the same private key. So we're using the same identity. And obviously this, I guess I don't really even know if this Python script counts as proof of concept, because the fact that it's hard-coded to one user address, obviously that's not going to be useful to anybody, because everyone's just going to be clocking in and out as the same person. You could pretty easily change this into an input, but then you'd be asking the user for their private key. You could also ask them for a seed phrase. You could load from a JSON file, but all that is getting a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit higher level. But anyway, so that's I suppose that's not quite at the proof of concept stage yet. Okay, so I'd like to get some more information out here as to what this process is doing, and we already have some output here. We're already sort of doing that here with our logging, but I want to get it out on the interface. So there's sort of two aspects, of course, of this. We need to change the actual layout of the page and add in the right elements, and then we need to sort of figure out when to put stuff there. I'm going to approach this with the layout first, because I want to think about how to display it. And specifically, like how is it going to work with our view function, our view framework? I suppose we could have a list of clocks. I think that's what I want to do. Is I just want to put a, well, we already have this punch actions list in here. In fact, now that is logging the events directly. It's not logging anything that's really human readable. But we could maybe still use that. The only thing is I'd like to also, so we could, okay. What we could do, and I'll just start to do this just to give you guys an idea. We could do something like div and then v4 equals punch action in punch actions, like that. And then in here, we could put some code to render certain parts of the punch action. So we could go into the event and args. I mean, just like we're doing in our JavaScript code. Let's see, where do we? So we're pushing the actual event. I mean the sort of the Web3 event. So we could grab from inside of that the different pieces and parts. However, I'd also like to output when the interface has seen a clock in and a clock out and calculates the time and adds that in. That would be a good thing to output as well. And if I want to output that, I can't just leave this as a list of events, because the events themselves don't have that information. So I need to make another list that that we can populate, not only with what time it was and who did it and all that, but also whether it has counted towards an addition to the seconds worked. So I guess I'm going to call that list. Let's see. Clock actions output, or punch actions output. Outputs, like that. Punch action outputs. Make it a list. And now, so we have this loop that's going through there and doing the calculations. And this is actually looping through punch actions. I'm going to take these I'm going to take these out. And this is, okay, this punch actions, I believe this should be just our users' punch actions. Yeah, we're checking in here before we even add it to all punch events. So that means, and then our, I'm just trying to remember how all punch events then goes into punch actions. Where does that happen? Oh, it's right here. Okay, I'm just a little bit blind. Right. We're not building all punch events here. We're using it. So all punch events does really hold all of them. Yeah, right here. And then later we only put into the punch actions our users' punch actions. So actually, I'm going to replace that to be a little clearer and avoid the confusion in the next time I wonder about that. And I'm going to replace. Whoops, replace. Okay. Back to what we were doing. So for each of these if statements, we want to add something. And I think I'm just going to add strings. Well, I have a choice here. I can add strings to this list, so each item is a string, or I can add a dictionary and then sort of format that dictionary out into a string, maybe in my HTML. I'm gonna opt for the dictionary, so I'm gonna add just the info we need here, mostly right now I'm just thinking to do that because it'll keep this code from getting too weird and complex with adding formatting code in here that doesn't really belong here. So I'll just add the dictionary of the relevant information. So I guess right after this, and I'm wondering if we even need this list at all if we're building a new one, or do we need a new one, or should we just change how this one works? I guess I'll do a find and see where are we using this. We're using it, well, we're only populating it, and we were logging it earlier. We're not really using it to read from. So I guess rather than make a new list, I'm just going to actually back up. We can take that out, and we're just going to populate this one differently. That's what we're going to do. Okay. Yes. Okay, so wait a minute. Nope, I'm confused again. Sorry, guys. Right, we're pushing it right here. We're reading it in this loop. Oh my goodness, I'm really confusing myself here. So, okay, I'm gonna back up once again. Put this back in here. Punch action. Output vars. Right, okay. Okay, now we just need to figure out what to put in this. We want the time. We want the action. We don't need the agent because this is already only for one agent. So in at a time, I guess it's all we need for that. And then I'm also going to say a Boolean for whether, well, I'll do this. Zero. And then I'm going to take this, put it down here. Rearrange this code a little bit. Like so. And then like that. Oh, and then change out and out. Yes, okay. Now, one problem here is I was imagining that when we would display this info that I'm populating right now, of course we haven't even gotten to this display layout of any of this yet, but I was imagining that it would show all clock ins and all clock outs, even the ones that were sort of invalid, but I'm realizing that my loop here I think it just skips over the repeated outs. So if someone clocks in, this loop will go in action found will be set to true. So then it will always skip this one. And then once it hits an out, well, yeah, so first of all, it's skipping ins and it's skipping, this for loop is skipping over everything that is not a valid clock in or clock out, which is fine as far as the logic of it goes, but I guess I can do an else here. I guess that's what I'll do. So if nothing in this has triggered, if nothing in these have triggered, we can still log the event in punch action output vars. Yes, okay. Window.app.punch action output vars equals. Gotta now copy this whole thing. And action. This. And seconds added, 0. Okay. So that should populate this punch action output vars with a list of dictionaries that each have a time, an action, and a seconds added. So I guess the first thing that we can do is just make a really simple output for that. So we are going to do v4, but it's going to be punch action output dict in punch action output vars. That's a little unclear. These variables could be named something better, certainly. But I am just gonna say, let's see, what is I'm sure Bootstrap has a good way to do some columns. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. Let's see, what am I'm trying to chart some info. Charts. Oh, this is I don't want a table. I want I don't want a chart, I want a table. That's what I'm trying to Bootstrap table. That's what I want. And this is exactly the thing that I want. Sothead tr. Oh, I guess it's just a regular HTML table, but you just give it the class table and it'll format it a little better. Well, that's okay. I know how to do that. And I guess, so this v4, this div is now going to repeat. So this will basically be duplicated over and over again. So before that, I want to start, I want to build the table, the outside of the table, the beginning of the table. Table, class equals table. This class equals table is what lets the Bootstrap, of course, format it a little bit better. I guess we do want the table head. Thead. I don't usually use thead. Thead, tr, th. Okay. Scope equals call. Not sure what that's all about, but I'll just do what I'm told. And I think I put the name here. Okay. So we're going to do time, action, and hours added. Time added. Time. Got about 5 minutes left. I think we'll be able to do this though. Time, action. Actually, I'll just do in, out, th. don't know what that scope is about. If anybody knows, mention it in Slack. I'm interested to know. Time added. TH. Okay. And slash thead and then tbody. Now I believe we can start putting stuff in our div. Well, actually, we don't even need a div. We can just make this a tr, like it's saying, but have that v4 in it. So do like this: tr, v4, and then we can slash tr. We can slash tbody. We can slash table like that, and we can take out this leftover div. Okay, now we just need to say what we're going to be doing here, which is just going to be some TD stuff with some scope, I guess. I don't know what that. I don't have these numbers here. I'm just gonna ignore that. I hope that this scope business doesn't throw me off. In fact, I'm just gonna take the scope out. I don't really know what it does. And I've never used it before. Hopefully it doesn't have anything to do with the Bootstrap. I don't think so, because Bootstrap usually you're defining classes, not scope, whatever that is. Okay, so we have now time. Although we really want the humanized duration, I'll do that after. And we want punch action output dict. Like so, I think. What did we call this one? We called it seconds added. Okay, so this time and the seconds added will be ugly for now, but let's just save this and see if it works. See if it at least outputs something. So take this, copy, and refresh. Well, we do have a table here. That's looking good. Let's see. Uh-oh. Got some errors. Cannot read property 2 of undefined on 97. 97. Oh, punch actions for agent. It looks like my search and replace went a little too crazy there. And I did it here too. That's kind of funny. Okay, let's refresh and paste and go. Well, no errors, but we don't have anything outputting here either. Let's see what this is looking like in the console. This variable here. Oh. It's not a list. It's a single dictionary, which it should be a list, right? I mean, oh, right. Dot push. That's the problem. And we're gonna push this whole thing. Don't want to assign it. A bit silly. Oh, and we also need to end that and do that. Okay, let's try that. Hey, that looks pretty good. That looks great. I mean, well, I wouldn't say it looks great, but it looks functional. That's cool. I guess the only other thing that I could do is put the time worked down here, and then of course, now we're out of time today, so I'm not going to get into it today, but tomorrow we will make these time added. We'll use the same humanized duration here, and we'll use it over here, and then we will also translate these bits into an actual date and time. But that looks pretty cool. I'm actually quite happy with that. I would call this a proof of concept. I would pretty much complete proof of concept, and then tomorrow we'll just make it look a little prettier, and we'll also work on this Python script being able to use. Whoops, that's the JavaScript. We'll actually change this code to where a user can actually have his own identity and clock in and out. So yeah. Oh, and then we'll also so there's a couple of things. We'll change this to where they can put in their own information, or maybe even save it to a file that this loads. But we'll also add in some buttons and actually make a little user interface for this Python script, so you can just click the buttons and then see how they go. And then yeah, that'll be. I guess once again we have sort of completed our project on time. I mean, assuming nothing blows up tomorrow. But certainly it's functional now, and that's pretty cool. And so tomorrow we will, yeah, just sort of round off some sharp edges and yeah, cool. All right, thanks guys for tuning in. It's been a blast.